What's up, YouTube? Today we have King's Gambit episode 2, and I thought I would do something a little bit special. Now, last episode I did say that I was going to go over the main line, but I just remembered that there was this beautiful game that probably everybody has seen before, but it's never ever explained in detail. And I think that it's a great opportunity to take a look at that game, to look at the King's Gambit, and of course that game is the Immortal game, which was played between Adolf Anderson and Lionel Kieseritzky. So the Kieseritzky himself of the Kieseritzky Gambit, which is after knight f3 the main line, g5 and h4, but that is not what was played in the game. So in the game, Anderson with the white pieces played bishop c4, my favorite opening, and after queen h4 check, king to f1, the main move is just knight to f6, but Kieseritzky here, he played b5. And, well, the idea is just that white gave away a pawn, so black is going to give away a pawn to try to move this bishop to a square. That's not as good as it was before. Before it was attacking f7. And the best move is to take, so Anderson just takes it. And then Lionel goes knight f6. So knight c3, queen to h6 like normal, and now just d3, defending this pawn and opening this bishop. And the engine says knight c3 is slightly better, but this move is fine. Now here's where both players kind of go astray. Lionel plays knight to h5, and this move threatens knight g3 check, forking the rook and the king. And if knight g3 and the pawn takes, then the queen just takes the rook in the corner, and the king moves up, and then you trade the queens, and you're in an endgame. Sorry, the king would go here, and you trade the kings, and trade the queens, and you're in an endgame. Down in exchange, which obviously is winning for black. So the best move here is just rook g1, just putting the rook off the file. And Anderson didn't play that. He played knight to h4, just blocking the queen's view of this pawn. So now if knight g3, then you can just take the knight with the pawn, and it's all hunky-dory. So Lionel attacked the knight. The knight went to f5. And here Lionel played probably the biggest mistake of the game. In the opening, probably the biggest mistake in the opening. And that is Lionel played c6 here. Sorry, he played c6. And this bishop is obviously not doing as much. It's attacking a pawn that's defended twice, and this king will hopefully castle one day. But this knight, however, is controlling all these squares in front of the king, and it's keeping this queen. This queen won't be able to move from the defense of the g7 pawn if the bishop ever wants to be developed, because the knight takes g7, check. So it's obvious that you should play g6 here and not c6. You should kick away this knight and instead of this bishop. But after c6, g4 and knight to f6, Anderson played the best move here, rook to g1, just defending the g pawn, and offering this bishop here. And you'll see that this queen over here on the side of the board won't be very happy after black takes the bishop, which is what was played in the game. And after h4, queen to g6 and h5, queen back to g5. This queen has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 legal moves. Oh, I'm sorry, 6 legal moves. And let's see, a queen on an open board has how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 20 moves in the middle of the board. This queen only has 6. So you should definitely not play like this with all your pieces back here and only your queen out. So Anderson played queen to f3, attacking this pawn and preparing bishop f5 to trap the queen. And here is another mistake by Lionel. You should just sacrifice this knight for one of these pawns and then move your queen back, because you're already up a piece, and these pawns way up here are more powerful and would definitely be worth getting rid of, rather than your knight just going back and sitting on b8, which is what Lionel played so that his queen has some squares. So now after bishop takes, the queen goes back here to f6. And look at this position. This move, what is it? It's move 15. And white has pieces and pawns all the way up to the 5th rank, and black only has his queen developed. This is terrible. So Lionel, Anderson plays knight to c3, which prepares this knight to jump in here and attack and threaten this. And Lionel played another bad move. He played bishop to c5. Unfortunate for Lionel. This move looks good because it looks like it develops with tempo, but this rook doesn't need to move from here. Anderson played the best move, knight to d5, just attacking this queen. And now after queen takes a2, Anderson played a losing mistake, but Lionel didn't see it. Here Anderson played bishop to d6, which actually I think it either loses the game or it leads to a draw. But what Anderson should have played is just rook a to e1 or rook a to d1, I believe it was, to over defend this pawn after the queen here takes on c2. So if you play what Anderson played, bishop to d6, then the best move is just to take this rook with check. And then after the king moves here, then you just go here and you threaten to take this pawn. If you take the other rook, then there's some issues for you if you take it with the queen or with the bishop of getting checkmated over here. The queen has to defend this g6 square, otherwise knight to g6, queen here and bishop here will be checkmate, because the knight guards this square, the bishop attacks here, and this knight guards this square from g7, sorry. But Lionel, he took the wrong rook. His bishop was attacked, and he should just not cared about it. But he took this rook with the bishop instead of taking the other rook that comes with the check. So Anderson wants to take here, king moves and mate. So he didn't even bother to take this bishop or to defend his rook. He just played pawn to e6, blocking the queen's view of this pawn. So he hung the other rook with check, and then after king to e2, there are no checks from the queen, and there are no moves that Lionel can play to save his position. So he knows that one of the pieces is going to land here to checkmate him. So he plays knight to a6, trying to defend the square. But Anderson does even better. He plays knight captures on g7 check, king to d8, and then pause the video if you want to and find it. Too late. Terrible. Look at me drawing arrows all ADHD. Queen to f6, sacrificing the queen after knight takes to play bishop here checkmate, because the knight guards this square, this other knight guards this square, and the bishop delivers the checkmate. Boom. So yeah, beautiful game. Anderson has 3 minor pieces on the board, and black has his entire army. Black lost. So just terrible coordination by black. Yeah, interesting game. Nobody ever talks about how you should, how this opening went through that it shouldn't have been like. But you have to make mistakes to have the brilliancies. You can't just play perfect games and have beautiful positions. If every game was played perfectly, then it would just be a boring draw. They would just move everything the same way. Draw the game. Draw the game. Completely symmetrical. So there has to be blunder, geez, I cannot speak. There has to be a mistake for there to be a brilliancy. And that's what the King's Gambit is all about, really. You give up this pawn, and you play with this extra space, and you play with this extra development. And the engine thinks that your position is worse, look, minus 0.4, but it just makes your opponent play bad. Alrighty, that's King's Gambit episode 2. Ruin the pause the video moment. Terrible. I won't spoil it in the next one.